This is my first time doing this and I'm sounding like a robot. Hey besties, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Charlotte, I'm a trichologist in training, and today we're going to do the ultimate blowout. This is going to be the best video that you have seen today for a blowout. And this is going to be the most unconventional first YouTube video for someone who's been making curly hair content for the last 12 months. But I'm going to show you my ultimate blowout routine. The blowout is the first thing that I ever got taught as a person with curly hair with just a round brush and a hairdryer. And I think that it is pretty much the ultimate tool to being completely free to do whatever you want with your hair. So if you're here to level up your hair, or you just kind of want to vibe with me through this video, then let's get into it. This is my hair with no product in it right before I washed it. Okay, first things first, you want to make sure that you're doing this on super clean hair. In my experience, it's not really worth trying to do a blowout on curly, wavy or textured hair, or my hair specifically, if my hair's not really clean. I find that I get the best result if I have really clean hair. Next is you're going to really need the right tools. I'm a big believer in that you don't actually need to go and buy $1,000 air wrap machine. I actually am sure the air wrap is absolutely incredible, but you do not need to spend $1,000 on a hair tool. But then on the other hand, you also want to make sure that you're spending enough money so that you're buying a tool that is not going to majorly overheat and burn your hair, or is actually just a good enough tool to perform the job. The hairdryer that I use is the GHD. This one has worked really well for me. The other thing you need is one of these little attachment tools. You definitely need this. You can't blow out your hair without it. So it is definitely an investment in terms of a hairdryer or a hair tool. But if you buy a hairdryer like this, you can also buy it with a diffusing attachment, so it can be your diffuser and you can use it for your blowouts. I don't think you need a whole separate tool for doing a blowout. They're nice to have, but you don't really need them, I don't think, in my opinion anyway. The next thing you need is a round brush. This one is quite a small round brush, and there's a couple of reasons why I use a small one. A small one means that you get quite a lot more precision, and you can kind of get all the little baby hairs in and around your face, and you get more of a smaller kind of round curl. If you want to not spend as much time, then buy a bigger brush. Let's get into it, because I can explain the rest of the things that I use as I go. Okay, let's take my hair down and see. I actually wrap it as well right after the shower, because then if I wrap it straight after the shower, then that means that I can continue getting ready. I can put makeup on, I can put my clothes on, everything. I wrap my hair up and then my hair is the last thing that I do. So what you want to do is section it basically, but it's actually reasonably dry just from being up in the microfiber towel, but I'm gonna dry it off a little bit more before I start blowing it out. The reason why I do that is just to make sure that I'm not applying the heat directly to soaking wet hair. You don't want to do that. But first, before we do that, I'm just gonna put in a little bit of heat protectant. I always apply my heat protectant in sections, but I apply this pretty liberally. And then I also brush it through as well. I do it in big enough sections so that it doesn't take heaps of time, but this is basically the heat protectant is the only product I put in my hair. I find with my hair, and I think curly hair seriously in general, you don't really need texture sprays, mousses, all of that. I honestly think it's just a kind of a waste of money for curly hair, textured hair. I see a lot of people with straight hair using those, and that seems to work really well for them because it gives them the volume and the lift that they need for their blowout. But if you've got curly or textured hair, you already have got so much natural volume anyway. You don't really need to go in with like a mousse in the roots, so like, nah, just skip that. Just put the heat protection on. This is the Pureology 21 Benefits spray. I have been really enjoying using this, and it's super moisturizing. It does have oils in it, but I find that when I use it before my blowout, it doesn't make my hair oily really at all. So I just make sure that that is brushed through really evenly, and then I go through and just blow dry some of my hair. So I don't really bother trying to section this or anything like that. This is just a really quick blow dry, so I'm not applying the round brush and the hairdryer directly. So anyway, let's go. That one of the things that you can start doing when you're doing your pre-drying is angling this in a way that's kind of, especially at the roots here, because I find people with curly hair struggle with this part getting curly the most. So if you angle your hairdryer like this, it will start to kind of smoothen these sections out before you've even applied the round brush. The sectioning section, this is really going to be personal to you, how many sections you end up doing. I always start from the bottom. It's just going to be easier, but it's going to depend on your hair density, how much you end up doing all the way up your head. The easiest way to learn how to do this, if you haven't done it before or if you struggle, is you are wanting to apply tension on the hair to stretch the hair out, basically, is what you're doing. So if this is my hair like this, and I want to blow out this section, so I apply the brush like that, and I twist my wrist so that it kind of catches on the hair, and then I'll use the blow dryer and blow this section, and then you sort of turn and blow dry and twist at the same time, and you're going to be blow drying down as you go. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. I'll show and then hopefully it will actually make sense. It actually took me quite a bit of practice. I remember my mum and I used to spend a long time on this, and she showed me how to do it. But you basically just want to catch the hair and apply tension. You're going to need to do the same section of hair probably a couple of times. Okay, here we are. You basically want to keep turning and blow drying on your hair until your hair is dry, essentially. You don't want to leave it wet, otherwise you'll end up with some curly kind of fluffier bits. I wouldn't worry if you've got a tiny bit of frizz kind of at the root, a little bit at the start. I think blowouts on curly wavy hair last such a long time. They really do, and I think that over the course of a day or two you will notice that the frizz will go down, and we'll also apply a little bit of oil to kind of lower that frizz at the end as well. So don't worry if you've got a little bit of frizz, but in general it should look pretty smooth. And yeah, I think it honestly is that easy. And then with these sections here, I notice that people do really struggle with this getting curly, and I see a lot of people applying a straightener to these sections, and then the straightener over time just ends up cutting those bits of like hair off. So the easiest way to do that is literally apply the brush directly to the scalp like that. And I'm not actually pulling a lot on the hair, which is kind of the key. And you want to make sure you're using a brush like this, and it's not really, it needs to be a specific blow dry brush. If you try and do this with a tangle teaser or anything like that, you're going to end up applying way too much tension on the hair and on the scalp. So what I'm going to do, because it does take a little bit of time, I'm going to do this section for you on camera, and then I'm going to do all the way up to probably about here, and then I can come back and show you how I do the front section as well. Oh, I just thought to say, it is always going to be easier on one side versus the other. Like this side's easy because you can turn out like that, but this side is always going to be a bit trickier because unless you're ambidextrous, you're always going to have an issue. So the easiest way to do it is because this one's gone like this way. So you want this, you kind of want to hold your arm like that and blow dry like this. And then that's that section. Once I've done a section, I actually tie it up. And the reason for that is so I don't kind of keep going over the same section. One thing I will say is that the turning action with your hand and the round brush, that's kind of key if you want the kind of the loopy big curls. If you're not going to do another heatless kind of hairstyle, that was actually really hot, don't touch the brush. I was like, oh! If you want this kind of curl like this, it's actually super easy. It's actually all in the way that you move the brush. So when you're pulling out the hair, you just want to turn the brush like this, and then it creates that curl. In general, I would say as well, I would always try and brush kind of away from the face. So you don't want to kind of pull down like this. You want to have your brush on top of the hair and then turn it outwards so that you're always going away from the face, kind of like that. So I think that that's just more flattering, that kind of look, and it's actually just easier as well. The other thing you want to do is make sure that the back looks good, which I know is a bit of a struggle, but what I always try and make sure I do is I always run my fingers through my hair just to check that my hair and my scalp, especially the hair close to the scalp, is definitely dry, because you don't want after you've blown it out with your brush, you don't want to then move on to the next section before the section you're doing is dry. So if you don't dry it properly, then it will just go curly, it won't go smooth. I'm pretty much at the top section now, which is probably the most important section, I would say. Let's take it down. I'm probably gonna section this into maybe 2 or 3 different sections. So with this top section, this is the bit that you'll be able to see the back of, I guess, the most. So there is going to be, for this section specifically, there is going to be a lot of, the brush is going to be at a different angle. So instead of kind of going like that for the mid kind of lower sections, you're going to want to actually put the brush behind the head like that. And then the blow dryer will go at the front. Really focus on that turning at the end as well. Kind of going over this section at the end like this. And then you get those flicks. A little fluffy kind of flick at the end, which we all love. Honestly, don't necessarily need to try and get the roots straight necessarily. I think if you get them dry and then as you're pulling your brush, it kind of naturally just helps stretch the hair out. So that's that section there. And because we've brushed under and up, you'll get the lift underneath like that. So yeah, let's just tie that section up. Wonder whether it's worth showing you the back just so you can see what it looks like, so that you can be convinced that it actually looks good. And then my favourite part is the front. Okay. Rightio. Okay. Let's brush it out because it's gone quite dry now. These alligator clips are so freaking handy. They're honestly one of the best investments I made for both my blowouts and for doing my curly hair routines. I think one of the keys with any kind of hair care, especially blowouts, curly hair, whatever, is actually sectioning your hair properly. I see a lot of people with naturally straight hair who do kind of overnight blowout routines, and because they've got straight hair, when they dry their hair to blow it out, they just put their head upside down and they just dry their hair like that, and then they put it in their rollers overnight and their hair's literally perfect in the morning, and that's amazing. But if you've got curly hair, you kind of need to do this step first. Like, you can't just put your head upside down and dry your hair. You'll end up with just like a big frizzy mess. So you need to actually do this part first. So that's that section done. So good. All right, let's split this into two. So I should explain this better. For this front section, I would always apply the brush. So basically, if you brush your hair down like this, what you want to do is apply the brush. If your hair is straight over your face like that, you want to be applying the brush at that point, and then pick your hair up and pull it over the brush. That's where you're going to be blow drying. Got a widow's, or like a widow's peak, so my hair kind of goes down in the middle. So even though I'm styling it like this at the start, you can see how much longer it goes when it's blown out. I will actually do it in the middle and show you how to do that as well. Now that you've kind of got most of it dry, grab that front bit. Okay. Whew. Right. So I take my hair out at this point and just run my fingers through my hair and just check that my roots are all dry. And if I can feel any kind of wet parts, I just go back through with the dryer just to make sure it is 100% dry. The other thing worth checking is just this kind of crown section, because this is always the part that looks funny from the back. So sometimes what I like to do is just grab sort of like a big chunk like this. This looks pretty good, to be honest. Like, I've picked that up and it looks good. Let's have a look at the back. Hopefully it looks good. So at this point, I would probably just go in and apply a little bit of hair oil. You will not need a lot, but the little bit of oil does just take down any kind of remaining frizz. Also, at this point, you can basically do anything. You could go in with rollers. You could put your hair in rollers at this point, leave it for half an hour and then take it out, because your hair is still warm, so the rollers will work. Or you could do an overnight style robe curls, or if you've got like bonbons or anything like that, then you could go in with those overnight and then you would end up with a really nice bouncy blowout the next day. This is pretty much what I would do to get my hair smooth, frizz-free blowout routine for curly hair that actually will make sure that you have got smooth hair and no frizz. So if you liked that, let me know. I have had lots of people message me with curly or textured hair that ask me how I do my blowouts, because most of the blowouts that I have seen, people do it often people with already really straight hair, and of course it's going to be completely different if you've got curly or textured hair, because you're dealing with frizz and you're dealing with a whole bunch of things. And I feel like it's been one of the most valuable, not exaggerating, but it's been one of the most valuable skills I think that I've had, in order so that I've been able to wear my hair multiple different ways. My whole life I've been able to have it curly, I've been able to have it blown out, I've been able to have it whatever way that I want and that I feel the most confident. And so I thought making it as my first YouTube video was kind of a nice idea, is like a tribute to my younger self, and also I think it's important to have options, and it's important to feel like you can wear your hair whatever way you want. And I think that is super, super important. It's something that I want to make sure is coming across in my videos, that there's no pressure to wear your hair curly or straight or whatever you wear your hair, however you feel the most. 10 out of 10 freaking fantastic. If you liked this video, please give it a like, and I also have a whole bunch of free resources. I have them linked in the description box below. All of those free resources are information that I've been learning from my hair science and trichology journey, and I also have a hair guide as well, which is completely free, so please take advantage of that. So yeah, hopefully that helps, and that you learn a few kind of tips and tricks for blowing out your hair at home without having to buy the crazy expensive tools, and you don't need loads and loads of product in order to be able to do it. So hopefully that was helpful for you and you liked it. Yeah.